Bill 110 establishes an operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. From Mayor Harry Kim, dated March 1, 2018, transmitting for consideration the proposed operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. This balanced budget includes estimated revenues and appropriations of $515,710,662 and is 5.1% higher than last year's budget. Reference Communication 755, introduced by Ms. David by request, and Communication 755.1 from Finance Director Deanna Sacco, dated March 1, 2018, transmitting a booklet containing the reports entitled Departmental and Agency 6-Month Progress Report on Program Objectives for the Fiscal Year 2017-18 and the Final Status Report on Program Objectives for the Fiscal Year 2016-17. Bill 111 relates to public improvements and financing thereof for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019, from Mayor Harry Kim, dated March 1, 2018, transmitting the proposed capital budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and the capital program for the next 6 years from fiscal year 2018-2019 to 2023-2024, which includes 39 projects requiring a total appropriation of $190.9 million. Approximately $114.6 million are intended to be funded in whole or part by bonds, $75.2 million to be funded by the State Revolving Loan Fund or state capital improvement projects, and $0.16 million to be funded by federal funds, and $1 million to be funded by fair share contributions. Reference Communication 756, introduced by Ms. David by request.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mayor Kim, you're here to present an overview of the operating and capital budgets for us.
My mind is a little drifting. Last conversation I had last night, and first thing this morning was on the very tragic flooding on Kauai. I wish them the best. The report last night said they still have maybe 15-20% of the areas on search and rescue not covered, and they hope to complete it this morning. And fortunately, no serious injuries or fatality has been reported. So obviously our best prayers are for them and with them. In regards to this, thank you very much for this opportunity for this budget for the next fiscal year. The Finance Department started working with all of the departments, including the Mayor's Office, for submission of a balanced budget to the County Council, as we are doing now. As you know, balanced budget just means the element of anticipated projected revenue versus how we propose to spend it. And this is what is before you. Our first planning process began last year in December, as it normally does every year. So it is a balanced budget based on projected revenues. We went through 3 phases of instructions to all departments, and I do all departments, including the Mayor's Office. The first one was instruction by the Finance Department, Deanna Sacco and staff, that the anticipation of the budget revenue is going to be low, and we were all instructed of 0 growth. The second budget submission to all departments is a 3% cut. After the 3% cut, they were sent back for additional cuts, them knowing best what is best for their department, with general guidance of, above all, no service cuts. I think the County Council obviously suffered a great amount of that cut in regards to 100% of your discretionary funds were cut. And I know that's a hard, pill to swallow. I'm not happy with this budget, and I'm sure none of you are also. I think we've had enough publicity or concern expressed by people. I'll just pick on easy departments that has been publicized a lot, and that is like the police department. The presentation before me, I heard him say in regards to growth. And I think you know that this island is the fastest growing island by county in the state of Hawaii. I think we know that that percentage of growth is not loaded with people of high revenues. That obviously includes those on the very low income status. I'm very grateful for programs like the DOE making free lunch and breakfast available to every student, maybe with that tremendous hardship, for the poverty level that is here. And I know with that is a high concern of the county council on any proposal of revenue taxation increase because of the high concern of that. I wish, truthfully, the discussion would be on possible revenues that were very positive, but I think you know that we cannot project any of those revenues. We hope for the TAT. We have been assured that is being under review by the legislature. What will come forth, no one knows. I think we all learned that in the past years. What you hear today, sometimes it's so very different than what finally comes towards us. But in the event of any additional revenues comes forth to us, like the TAT and GET, then we come back to you with a revised budget. But at this time, the departments behind me, the finance department director, will present the specifics of the budget for you to question and answer, for them to answer. So if you have any questions of me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Council members, any questions for Mayor Kim? Ms. Leloy, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor. In your budget request, you have a request for one new position. It's a executive aide position. Is that accurate?
Pardon?
You have a request for an additional position.
There are no new positions being asked by anyone, including yours truly.
I'm looking at page 135 of the Office of the Mayor. Number of positions budgeted, 20, and then for 2018-2019 request is 21.
Okay, Ms. Deanna Sacco will answer that, but, I didn't request any new position as stated. To
Thanks,
fill a
Deanna.
position, yes.
Good morning, Deanna Sacco, Finance Director. I believe that's the position that was transferred from housing to the mayor's office for the homeless coordinator.
Okay, I yield. Thank you.
Just wanted to say mahalo for presenting the budget. We got our work to do in knowing what's all the little details, and I know a lot of people, a lot of departments worked really hard to present something that's not only adequate to you, but adequate to us and adequate to the our constituents as well. So we got to figure out what's best process for us in determining the future of these budgets, whether we move into a system that can present just one budget instead of separate budgets, because right now we don't know what's going to be the final budget. So we got to look at that process, but I did want to say mahalo to everybody for being here, and we got our work to do. So Mayor, mahalo for presenting that, and look forward to the discussions in the future.
Thank you.
Mahalo, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
you
you.
for coming. And right now, we will call up the Department of Finance, Director Sacco and Deputy Crawford. Good morning, ladies, and mahalo for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, probably. Good morning. First, before I started our presentation, I wanted to make sure everyone knows our Deputy Director, Nancy Crawford, is here, as well as all of our division heads, who should be behind me. But from accounts, we have Keo Shiro, our controller. From purchasing, we have Sebastian Calloway, our purchasing agent. From, I don't know if they're sitting in any order, property management, Hamana Ventura is here. From our property tax, we have Lisa Mira and Keita Joe. Oh yes, we have our whole entire budget team of 2 people, Nancy Kelly and Ted Schrey, and I'm not sure where. Risk management should be here. We have a new risk manager, Daniel Chun. And Scott Knowles is in his last few days of training him, and will continue his retirement after that. But we're glad Scott came back to help us out. And yay! We're very glad he was here. And Chris Nakano, our treasurer, and Naomi Ardell, vehicle registration and licensing. So I think that's everybody. The finance budget itself did not change very much. It increased about $1 million. Half of that roughly was due to bargaining unit raises, all the wage adjustments, and the other half was we increased our cost of tax sales because we're having more and selling more properties. But that's an offsetting revenue and an offsetting expenditure. So why the budget increased, it was not an increase to like real property taxes or anything like that. But before we do anything else, I just want to take you through a few highlights that impacted us countywide. Whoops, wrong one. So a little small for me, but this is the pie chart of kind of what makes up our county budget. And this is countywide, all funds. And if you look at police, fire, and prosecutors, those are three of our public safety departments. And hopefully you guys got this handed out to you already.
No, I don't think we did. I don't believe we.
Okay,
Yes.
Jeanette was making copies for me. She should be here very soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, but I'll just believe me when I tell you public safety is roughly 25 or a little more % of our budget. And then we also have, highways, streets, parks and recreation. And then the golden color is environmental management. So solid waste, vehicle disposal, sewer, another significant portion of our entire budget. Then we have mass transit, housing, public works, finance, PONC, the darker brown slice of the pie is just over $7 million, $7.1 million, going to PONC and PONC maintenance. Then we have fringe benefits, which makes up another 20% of our budget, about $106 million. And then debt service. And then the lighter green part is actually the other services and functions and anything else left over, the smaller departments and everything. So just to kind of keep it in perspective of, a lot of it does go to public safety, and these are kind of larger departments. Not to belabor the TAT point, but sometimes I think everybody wonders how we got here and why real property tax has been going up so much. And so we deal with what we have, and right now TAT is capped by the legislature at the $19.3 million that we get each year. However, you can tell by the chart that the total TAT continues to grow. So the very top amount, that darker blue, is actually what the county of Hawaii receives. The lighter blue is what the other counties get. And the green bar is what the state keeps. So you'll see on the next slide that, the state actually sets a lot of the fees and costs that we have to spend. And if we were to continue to get our percentage amount, our budget would probably be just fine. But the state kept that during the recession and never gave it back, so we continue to be capped. So the rising increase in TAT and the revenue that the state's collecting is going to balance their budget, not ours, because we're capped and flat at that amount. So if we had continued to get that percentage increase, like you see that green bar rising, we probably would be okay now. So we're just trying to put it in perspective, We only can control what we have. So that's part of why we keep having this widening gap between our revenues and expenditures. Like the mayor said, our departments have cut and trimmed wherever they can to have only essential services. And as you noted in the budget message, some services were cut, like we'll be closing transfer station on additional holidays, things like that. Facility and maintenance equipment purchases have been deferred, and in some cases even repairs. And reserves have not been funded beyond what's required in the county code. So the $250,000 that goes to the disaster fund, the $250,000 that goes to the budget stabilization fund, those are mandated in the county code, so we fund those. And then obviously the increasing bargaining unit and benefit costs mandated by the state. And just as a reminder, we bargain together as a state, so all 4 counties and the state together. The mayor only gets 1 vote. The governor gets 4. In addition, the state sets the ERS rates we pay, which are escalating for the next 3 years yet. We had our first year increase this year. Then they're the ones who set forth that for the post-retirement benefits, that we will mandatorily fund those, even though it was a GASB accounting rule that just says you have to account for that liability. So coming up in fiscal year 19 that we're talking about, we're now going forward to 100% of the ARC, which is the annual required contribution, and it's an actuarial determined amount. So I would have to get my budget to the exact amount, excuse me, but now that's roughly the amount we're going to have to pay each and every year. And there's some changes in how we accounted for that, but we can talk about later. But our expenses continue to rise, and a lot of it is sort of out of our control, but we're doing the best we can with the hand we have dealt to us. So to put it in perspective with some of the other counties, we looked at the current year budget. They're still going through the budget process like we are. But if you look at Hawaii County, our total budget for fiscal year 18 was $490.8 million. We have a population of 200,000, in this case 200,381. So our per capita budget is $2,449. That compares to County of Maui, and we removed their capital projects because they do a joint budget, operating and capital together. So this is just their operating budget divided by their countywide population of 166,348. So their average per capita budget is $3,395, nearly $1,000 more than us. Kauai County is more similar to us. Their per capita is $2,793, and City and County of Honolulu, even with their economy of scales, is at $2,478. So statewide, we definitely have the lowest per capita. And obviously, by far, we have the most square miles, as we all know. And even our per square mile budget is the lowest statewide at $121,852. And again, that does pose some of our challenges because we do need police stations island-wide. We do need fire stations island-wide. We have an entire island to serve, a very large island to serve. Is that it? That's it. So, so we're just trying to highlight a few things to help, I think, keep it in perspective for everyone, including the public, of kind of where things are. You will notice in the budget that this year being the first year that we're required to pay 100% of the post-retirement benefits, we did change the way we budget for it in the miscellaneous section, and we combined the retiree medical payments with that OPEB or post-retirement payment. So you'll see one goes down and one goes up, but at least it's all together now, and that's the amount that we're required to pay. In addition, the state is changing to annual actuarial reports for employees, union, trust fund, the post-retirement benefits. So we'll have more accurate numbers going forward as well. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Your county budget comparison, have you looked at that compared to counties across the nation? How do we stack up?
No, I have not. But you hear different anecdotal information, and it's difficult to kind of compare sometimes because, like, on the mainland, they also have, like, the school districts. So where a $100,000 house in Hawaii might pay, a certain amount of taxes, it's like triple, quadruple, or even more on the mainland. So it's kind of hard to compare. In addition, cities versus counties and the services that are provided nationwide also vary. But we can try and find somebody similar to us, but yeah, we haven't tried to look at that.
Okay, I was curious. Again, borrowing from the mayor's statement, the problem with the Big Island is it's big, and so that's one of our challenges. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Anyone else?
I'm just wondering, in terms of our valuations, property valuations, how's that going? Are we kind of on par with where we'd like to be? I mean, is it really market value?
We believe it's market value, and we run statistical analysis each year to ensure that we are within our targeted areas. We have our administrator and assistant administrator, or the acting ones behind me, and they really do a lot of analysis and work with each of the appraisers to make sure we really are at 100% of market. They're also great at working with the taxpayers, so that if there's any questions, they can explain it to them up front as well. So I think they're being very proactive, and I think really have done a lot of training in the last few years to help the appraisers. So I think we're pretty
That's
much
good.
on target.
Good to know. And the reason why I asked is, in case we weren't, whether we should devote more resources to that division to get things up to speed. In as much as it is our lifeblood, really. But okay, we're okay on that end. And then, I'm really glad that you came up with this county budget comparison, because I did mention the last time, and of course it related to the 2018-19 budget, but Maui County had an $840 million budget, right? But built into that was their capital improvement project budget. But that is real money, though, right? They don't have to borrow. Therein lies a big difference between us and them, or them and us. And, I know this is last year's operating budget, but let's say we were to kind of just, fool around with the numbers. We're looking at a difference of about $276 million for their CIP. That's really half of our total operating budget.
Right.
Because I did try to, Maui is a different animal.
Yes, they are.
They've got real valuable properties, and of course, but yet a smaller area. And it's not to say that I'm trying to promote getting us up to an $840 million CIP operating budget. But I think it's instructive in some regards when you look at these differences as to the level of service that we're either providing or depriving our citizens of. And, it troubles me, quite frankly, that, we're shortchanging public, because they have a lot of requests. We hear it all the time. You should do this, you should do that. But at the same time, you have that same conversation. We have to do more with less.
Right.
I think you guys have done a real good job in getting this budget to within the constraints that that we're looking at right now. So I really wanted to commend all of you. But I just think there's going to be some areas where we're really just not doing a good job. And
No.
it's through no fault of...
No,
you
I
guys.
agree. Everybody has joined together as a team to join in the budget cuts and keep it, affordable for our, the residents who live here. But at the same time, the residents are paying the cost, whether it's in longer vehicle registration lines or not getting things repaired as quickly as they would like. So every department will tell you that, it's been a challenge for them. It has not been easy.
The last time at our council meeting, I had mentioned the possibility of introducing a charter amendment which would eliminate the requirement for the administration to come up with an amended budget after the legislative session. Now, of course, the reason for that was because of the experience that we went through last year. And, that might have been an aberration. I don't really foresee that kind of stuff happening again or too often in the future. But, I had a conversation with Nancy. I also had a conversation with you because I mentioned to my colleagues, look, if you guys are in favor of it, I'll prepare it. And it's actually prepared because all we had to do was change a few words in the charter. Well, what's your feelings on that? Because I don't want to, submit something that's, really going to be counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve. And I don't want to create any problems for the administration or anything like that. But, if you could just give us your thoughts briefly, and then, I'll decide whether I want to.
Well, I think we don't want to
advance it or
be
not.
too reactionary, and I think last year was kind of an unusual year. There was a lot going on at the legislature, both with increasing the ERS rates as well as, capping the TAT. Some things happened, in the summer afterwards in the special session. So there was a lot going on, including, our own fund balance kind of going down as departments really needed to spend the funds to be able to run their operations. But whenever we do the budget, we kind of need to be as far through the legislative session as we can so that we can catch those items that come up, whether it's ERS rate changes, whether it's collective bargaining information. This year, I'm not aware of any, surprises out there. I think last year was kind of a bigger year for that. But, we want to work together with council to make sure that, we're both doing the best we can. And sometimes, last year was unusual. This year, we're not anticipating changes. So, it really, everybody needs to work together to kind of work on it. But, there's not a way to really speed it up much. I mean, we have to wait for certified values of real property taxes. That takes time to do. So, it wouldn't be able, one budget is fine if we don't want to have to amend it, but we're going to have to, May 1st, I believe, is when certified values are due to the council. So it would be difficult to really do it much before that.
Well, I'll continue working with you guys. All right, thank you.
It looks like in 2013 we had the most excess in our fund balance, and then that's slowly gone down. I was just curious, what have we used the excess fund balance for in the past?
Each year we submit a balanced budget. So if we collect the revenue we expect to collect and we spend everything that we project to spend, we'll actually have zero fund balance. So it's, and then any excess, we put it in the next year's budget as a revenue source, as we have in this year's. And so to try and, return that back to the taxpayers. So it really goes for the annual operations of the county. It's not like it's any one particular thing. But, it all has to do with escalating costs, primarily the fringe benefits and salaries and wages.
Okay, great, thank you.
A recurring theme that we hear is that there's excess money that we're not collecting due to us from either delinquent property taxes or valuations on certain properties that aren't actually correct. And I'm just wondering, and I think this was mentioned just a little while ago about devoting more resources to actually, and I know you've done this in the last couple of years somewhat, but I'm wondering if that could serve us and create more income if we really did devote more investigators, or I don't know what you would call them, to really take care of collecting any back property taxes, any delinquencies, and making sure the valuations are all correct to the zoning.
I kind of know Lisa will come up and kick me if I say anything wrong. But I think, I am really impressed with the staff that we have. They actually had an enormous amount of vacancies this last year, and they all still pulled together to get everything accomplished. Those positions are pretty much all filled now. But, we're one of the most aggressive in the state as following through on our foreclosure sales. So we really do try to keep up. We try to work with the taxpayers, so that they can keep current on their bills. So I think we're doing, one of the best in that area. I think we follow up on all complaints as well as trying to be fair and equitable to everyone. Sometimes people complain about valuations, but they may not be aware of certain triggers. They may have gone out to, do research and whatnot. But sometimes, the house is only half complete or something, so it can't be fully valued till the following year. So there's lots of things that would impact that, but I think overall they're doing well.